Greetings one and all, welcome back to this second episode of the Kerbal Classic playthrough that I'm doing. It's not really a series, it's just completing of course what I started in the previous video, which was to land on the moon. Some developments since then. This will be the fourth time that I've actually tried this since the last video. Some complications occurred. Let me actually show you. If I just go back into the game and load the spacecraft, of course it was the Vanguard of Progress Mark II. Okay, there we go, it's loaded up. So I took exactly the same thing that I showed you in the previous episode where I unceremoniously crashed into the moon. I took exactly the same thing back to the moon and I actually recorded that. And then something happened, and I'm actually going to insert a clip here showing you basically what happened and what the problem was. So once that's done, we can come back here and see what we can do about it. Alright, there we go. Burn. Do not make the same mistake. Okay, that's good. Everyone is happy except Bob. He still has his doubts, and he was right to have his doubts last time, as it turns out. He could see it coming from a mile away. Much better. Just have to be careful with the SAS because it tends to hold its position, so if I move it, it actually goes back to that spot. No quick save, so another crash means restarting from scratch. Bit more speed. Okay, I can slow down. Don't do that. What are you doing? What are you doing exactly? Don't tell me this nonsense. There's fuel in these tanks. What are you doing? Oh, good grief. Oh, no. There's fuel in these tanks. Okay, I have no choice. We have to land with this stage. That is just crazy. It's probably because the fuel line system is not quite up to what it is now, which means the fuel was only drained from the top tanks and not from the bottom ones. This is why it's so much more difficult. Everyone is happy. Again, Bob, I should listen to Bob. Bob knew that the fuel tanks were not connected properly, so that's why he was upset. Now he's happy, so all of the parts are working properly, so I really should listen to him more. I think, I don't want to be pessimistic, so that's why I tend to just think, okay, it's going to work. But then Bob is right as usual. Alright, this is it. Final approach. Furiously tapping the keys here. It's either too fast or too slow. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Cut the power. No! This is madness. And the X key doesn't work every time for some reason. Don't you dare. Don't you even think about it. Seriously, this is what I get for my troubles. The whole thing just crumbles. Fatality. Well, Alright, so now you've seen what happened. It was really most unfortunate, and I would have experienced this problem earlier if I didn't crash on the moon. The obvious thing here was the fuel line system. in the old version of KSP, this was a very convoluted affair, and it didn't really occur to me. This is, of course, again the Vanguard of Progress Mark II, as you just saw it. I expected, so this is our trans stage and our landing stage. Now, I expected this to do the logical thing, which is basically what it does in the new or modern version of KSP. Of course, 1.2 will bring a new fuel flow system that you can tweak better. But as it stands right now, what I would have expected was that the fuel would drain from the bottom tank here into the top one here, and then through the pipe into the engine. I mean, that is what we can expect today. But what really happened was the fuel only drained from the top tank, and when this was empty, that's it. You don't access the fuel in here. Even though it's full of fuel, this bottom tank, nothing happens. For some reason, the fuel does not flow upwards and then through the pipe. So really something unexpected, but that's just the cost, I guess, of dealing with the older technology here. So I did the logical thing, and I connected another fuel line here, if I just quadruple it, to the top, like that. Basically, I didn't record that one, I just wanted to see if it actually worked. The logical thing, again, I expected to happen was it would drain here, then go through, obviously, here, drain the top one, and then out. So at least everything is connected with piping. But when I got to the moon, I experienced the exact same problem. It just wouldn't work. The bottom fuel tanks were still being left untouched. So I went back to the drawing board and I created a new Vanguard of Progress, the Mark III. So what I did with that one is I redesigned the entire rocket from scratch. I started again with the very top here when I made another discovery, and it shows you, even though the game version that I'm playing is 4 years old now, there's still things that take me by surprise, which was I didn't notice the advanced SAS module last time. I just used the normal SAS module, and of course the advanced one is the one that actually locks in your your position. The SAS module just brings about more torque, so I was again mistaken, but this time I've got it. So this time it's fixed, and I've got the RCS, of course, and I removed all of the unnecessary RCS ports. It really just drained our fuel too much, so we just have the fuel tank there and the engine for the return stage. However, I removed the trans stage and landing stage and just combined it with the return stage. So what we've got now is we've got the same kind of configuration of the two tanks on the outside, but instead of then having another decoupler and another engine, we just use the engine we've got already, which makes sense. It's less weight for us to carry. So what I did to bypass the fuel flow problem was to simply replicate the thing that worked, which was to have a direct fuel line from one tank to another. And again, the thing doesn't happen exactly as you expect that it should happen. If we use this in the modern version of KSP, what should happen is, if you have a setup like this, it should drain both of these fuel tanks equally at the same time. But that is again not what happens here. Here it will still drain the top one first fully, and then it will start with the second one. So at least the second one works now, and we actually have the fuel or access to the fuel that we take with us, which is the thing that I really wanted from the beginning. Everything else really was also redesigned. We still have our orbital insertion stage here, and instead of having the which engine would that be? The LVT-30 in the middle, we just have another LVT-45, and they will all burn out at the same rate, so we won't have another problem of having the central stack lasting longer than the outer ones and having the gimbal engines only on the outside. Then the bottom stage, instead of having that very wide kind of configuration with all of those boosters and things, I just went straight for this kind of star configuration, and it took me a little trial and error to actually reinforce everything with struts properly, because you can imagine this thing is not very strong down here, but it works. And these are all the LVT30s, so there's no gimbling here, but we have the fins, and this burns out relatively quickly, but it's got a high thrust to weight ratio, so it's really exactly what we need. So I've tested this one, the Mark III, and it actually works, and I went all the way to the moon and I came all the way back, because I was determined not to have another failure and to have Bob complain again and me not listening to him again. The other thing that I did also is, you'll notice with the previous video I said I wanted to add some music from the YouTube collection, and I did not do that because, silly me, I put too much faith in the YouTube video editor. I thought, great, I'm just going to use the video and then put the tracks that they allow you to use, there's a lot of them, and just place them at different points along the video. Of course, it doesn't work like that. I guess it's mostly made for cat videos and things like that, where you just have your music right from the beginning and it just goes straight through. You can't put gaps in or anything like that. So this time, to bypass that problem, I'm just going to include the music while I'm actually editing the video before I upload it. So we live and learn, and we evolve as we go along. So that's it. Then I think I've talked enough about this rocket. Let's get it to the moon. So what I'm going to do now is I will do the whole launch and everything, but I'll just speed it up until we get to the moon, because we've done that already, so it's not anything new. I'll just let you enjoy, and hopefully my choice of music is not too inappropriate. I'll see you at the moon. Okay, we're about ready for the landing now. I've brought us more or less to where we were before things went so disastrously wrong the first time. I lowered our orbit now to about 4,000 so that we just go over this crater. I still want to land here because that was our original goal. And as soon as we get above here maybe, then I'll start to burn very aggressively because our thrust to weight ratio is not very high, just so that we make sure not to repeat the mistakes of the past. Very important, the fuel, as you can see, it's looking still very healthy, but during the descent, of course, we're going to burn off a lot of that. And the thing is, we can do a landing without these bottom 4 tanks, but the problem is it's going to use then the return stage as fuel. And I just want to leave as much as possible of that central tank for us so that we can actually have a good chance of returning. So let's just begin the burn properly and still keep it within the crater. So let me just burn upwards so that we can even out the orbit without bringing it too low. Just get rid of a lot of the speed that we've got here. Definitely not going to mess this up again. And this is not a case of famous last words. I make sure of that. Okay, that should be enough. Obviously, we're still going to pick up more speed as we go, so I don't want to spend too long burning off the speed and then we just pick it up again. We still have a lot of fuel because we've not even touched these bottom 5 tanks. So really, this is overkill, but again, it's taken such a long time to get to this point, and I would still very much recommend, if you're an experienced KSP player, or if you're not, but you've never played these old versions, do try. I mean, it is there for free, and you might find that your skills are actually tested more than you would imagine. Okay, we're still 18 kilometers up, so now I think we're much better off. The problem again could be that we land a little bit too fast, so we have to be very sure that we are under 6 meters. But in my successful test, I found that even with the landing being under 6 meters per second, these tanks, because everything in these old versions of the game, they are just stuck together with duct tape basically. They will just fall apart instantly at the slightest bump. So all of these bottom tanks are basically going to break off anyway when we land, and the rest of the craft is just going to rest on them. So I just want to make sure that we don't hit going sideways, because then we are doomed for sure. The SAS is much better now. If you activate it somewhere, it'll just keep that, no question. So that advanced module was definitely what was missing before. Pretty much good landing from this angle, but I'm not so sure here. Seeing some hills and mountains down there. Okay, we just have to control the situation. I think it also helps a lot to just use this one engine to do the translunar injection, orbital insertion around the moon, landing and return. It's just more efficient than having another stage with another engine to do that. Okay, much better. So now I just want to not drop the speed too much, but at least keep it within tolerable levels. The key that I also found is to be exactly on that retrograde when we land. Any movement and we'll just slide off those bottom tanks. Bob, what's your assessment? He's smiling. Okay, that's a good sign. I think Bob knows things that we don't know. Everyone is smiling, everyone is happy, so I think this bodes well, hopefully. Just want to get us so we can see the shadow. Should be around there. Sun is there, so something like that. Let's just burn a bit more aggressively. There, just get it going pretty much straight down, and then from there I can continue slowing us down. Okay. Okay, too much. Whoa. I'm so overeager now, given my past experience. So we just want to keep it now nice and steady. It's actually too much, too aggressive. But anyway, see, here's the difference now. You can see the other 4 tanks have now kicked in. So this piping system, if you are playing this older version of the game, just keep that in mind. The field ducts here are very unforgiving, but in this configuration they work. Just keep it going to the central stack. Very hilly, I'm afraid. I have to see when we get closer. That may sabotage us. Lots of fuel. I can take as much time as I want doing this now. But of course, it's still, I'm hoping for a success. Bob is still happy, so I'm happy. I actually wonder if there's anyone else playing these old versions of the game still. I'm sure somewhere, but obviously everyone is focused on the most recent developments, and I'm too. It's just before getting into all of that, I just thought, let me go back. So I never really properly played these really old versions. I actually checked, I got the game at version 20.2, so that was about June 2013. So that's when I bought KSP and actively started playing. Okay, this is too fast. We still need to slow down. And it's so funny looking back, because then there was still no science. They just added ILU. And I think when version 0.21 came out, there was actually a big shift. I had gotten used to playing the old style, and then I had to make some adjustments. Okay, there we go. Still too fast. Slow down. Not too slow. Okay, we're within our limits. Just keep it slow. Keep it slow. Keep it slow. Don't lose it. Please don't lose it. Please don't lose it. Please don't lose it. Okay, we're here. That is so... Oh dear. No, 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 no. By the skin of our teeth. Okay. Congratulations to everyone. Salutations all around. I'm just scared if I let go of the SAS, we will be doomed. You can see it's almost pushed to the maximum, if it is not pushed to the maximum. So, exactly as I expected, all the bottom tanks broke off, but we really need this engine. If the thing shifts a little bit more, we're going to lose the engine, because as it slides down, it'll just rip it off. There's no electric power, so no concerns about the batteries running out, keeping this orientation. So there we are. We made it. A successful landing by any standards. So where is Kerbal? Unfortunately, I cannot pan the camera up. I just have to use the map. So Kerbal would be there right next to the sun at this point. And I'm sure they're very proud of us. Everyone is happy. See, Bob knew. Bob knows. I don't know how he knows, but he knows. Obviously, he's the scientist. He knows what's going on. And he's happy this time because he knew we were going to make it. So, fifth time's the charm. Luckily, you didn't have to sit through all of the unsuccessful experiments. And, okay, there we go. Now, of course, the challenge is to get back. I don't think there's really much purpose to stay here much longer. That's always the sad thing for me in any version of KSP, even the later ones where you can actually walk around. There's so much trouble and effort and time to get to the moon or any other place, and then just like that, you leave. I do it too, so then I think, they came all this way just to get out and walk for a few steps, get back in and go home. I mean, that's disappointing to them, I'm sure. But on the other hand, the Kerbals have been to the moon so many times already, it's nothing new. But still, anyway. So you can see the fuel lines also ripped off there and the struts that were holding the bottom together. I think it's just this one really that's actually balancing the whole thing. So, next step is to drop all of the exterior tanks. So I'll just lift us off and then drop those and then go to the 90 and do the usual that we do still today. Let me just have a look again. So, I think we're actually at the point where we can just lift off, go to the east and just keep burning to escape the moon. We don't have to go around again because it's painfully slow to go at 5 or 10 times warp. It's just really painful, so I'll just do that. So there we go. All right, Jeb, Bill, Bob. That was unfortunately not one small step for Kerbals, but it was definitely one big landing. So goodbye, Moon. See you again in a later version. You've been difficult, but good as well. Okay, back to the 90, ditch those tanks, they're empty anyway. And there we go. So now we have our return stage. So sad. Just about there. Doesn't need to be too high. So we just watch the moon serenely pass us by again. Yeah, they're a bit sad, but I mean, I don't blame them. Jeb is always happy. I'm convinced Jeb is some kind of a Zen master. He's always happy in any situation. He's found some kind of secret. He knows what the purpose of life is, and that is, of course, to be happy. So he is just happy all the time. Get us more or less to the equator here. We didn't really even use the RCS fuel here. Maybe just to stabilize the landing a little, but it's always something good to have. Almost to the apoapsis. Just can't go more than 5 times. Okay, more or less here. Time to go home. Now Bill is the sad one and upset one. Bob is happy, he knows it's going to work out. I'm just going to keep burning. Again, it's very hard to say when we will escape the moon because there's no indicator, but I would guess somewhere around there. So by the time we get back here around to the orbit of the moon, we should be escaping, and then I can just make final adjustments. And we have under half of our fuel left, so that's why it's so critically important that we actually preserve the fuel in this tank and use the other ones. So them not working before was really a big problem. Okay, I guess that's it. Cue the music and I will see you back upon our final approach to Kerbin. Okay, about to enter the atmosphere. Everything is going a-okay, no problems whatsoever. And yeah, I think it's a pretty good re-entry. The only thing, of course, in the later versions, I would think this is a bit too hot. Most craft would probably survive it with a heat shield. Just have to make sure there's enough ablator on, of course. But here that's not an issue, so I went for a rather steep re-entry. And I also discovered that the finer controls, of course, by hitting the caps lock key, it already exists in this version. So that's quite an early introduction. So I think, where are we going to land? Hey, there's the space center, so we might actually land nearby. I'm just worrying about something already. I'm afraid Bob has probably got the same idea that I've got. I tried another game earlier today in this version where I wanted to attempt an orbital rendezvous. And actually on the re-entry, when I triggered the parachute and everything and we landed perfectly fine, the craft exploded. Going at 12 meters or whatever per second, the thing that it does anyway. So I don't know if in this version you have to land in the ocean if a land landing is too hard. So I really hope we're not going to blow up at this point. Got some steady deceleration, so we might at least avoid the coastline there. I think so. The atmosphere is very thick here. I'd rather don't want to take chances. The altitude of that terrain was about 150 meters above sea level, so I don't know if it's just that last little bit of air density that makes the difference, but the craft was exactly like this and it just blew up on landing with a parachute. Okay, we're fine. Right off the coast here, so they'll just have to send a boat or something to pick us up. The service modules should be somewhere around here as well. Bob is still scared out of his mind, but I think he's just being cautious. I won't blame him ever again. Okay, trigger. That's it, nothing more I can do. Should be successful. Where is the moon now? Other side, of course, that's where we came from, but it's moved, so should be rising somewhere in the west soon. Instant deployment, so it's about 10 Gs instantly, which is a bit of a problem and a health risk, but anyway. Bob is happy now, so I think we'll make it. Wow, what a trip down memory lane. I also want to start playing KSP 1.2 when it comes out fully. I might actually do it on this channel, but of course I'll also do it on my own. But this was just so interesting. Come on, be safe, be safe. Good. Perfect. Alright, successful moon mission. Extra hard difficulty, of course. No save and reload and all of that, so just end the flight and go to the space center. Most G-force endured I saw was 5.8, so they obviously don't count the parachute there. So that's it. I hope this has been interesting to you. I don't think I'll make any more videos of this version at the moment. Maybe one day I'll do another video of that orbital rendezvous thing that I was thinking of. Other than that, there is really not much more that you can do. I mean, the moon is about the only thing there, so landing on it is about the greatest achievement you can do in this version. So that's it. Until then, may fortune follow you, and may you be happy whatever you're doing.